Alright, so I want to give you a quick overview of how to use this online assessment system for testing your one-day programs, what I call ODPs. These are quick, short pieces of code you're going to be writing throughout the course, and they can be graded automatically by a system running on linux.engrcs.com. So let's see how you go ahead and do this. If you go onto Canvas and you look under one-day programs, you'll see the assignments that have been given or are currently pending, along with due dates. So this is going to be your first test. It's going to be due on Tuesday, January 10th. So click on that and you'll see a description of what it is you're trying to do. In this case, it's a real simple function. It's just a function called sum. It takes two integer arguments and returns an integer. That's your goal. And there's instructions in here which will get more terse throughout the term. But basically, we're using what's called a test bed. This is an almost executable program into which you will link your function that you're writing, leaving you with an executable program that you can test. So in this case, the test bed is called /temp/main.o. That's usually what it's going to be. I've given you explicit compiling instructions. So if your function that you're developing is called sum.c, here's the line that you can use to compile it into an executable. Once you do this, in this case, it's a really easy program to check. Main, the executable program, will take two arguments. So if you say main11, it should give you an output like 1 + 1 = 2. So let's go ahead and just play with this. So I'm logged in as a test user called test. I'm in my home directory and I have one file, sum.c, which is my version of the one-day program. So sum.c basically defines a function named sum, takes two integers, returns an integer, and it's got some funny code in here because I wanted it to not quite work perfectly, so we can see how the assessment system will help you debug your program. So how do we build our executable? First we say gcc-o main/temp/main.o sum.c. That compiles my program and it leaves me with an executable program named main. Now if I say main and I put in two numbers, it should tell me 2 + 3 = 5. If I say main11, it should say 1 + 1 = 2. I'm confident that my function is correct because of these tests, so I want to go ahead and run the automated online tests. To do that, you simply say assess and then the name of your executable. You get a menu that tells you a few things. Welcome to the automated system. It will show you what it is that you're about to test your function against. In this case, it's a function to receive two integers and return their sum. That's correct. That's just a test to make sure that you're working on the right assignment. And you have a few options. I can see a list of test cases available. I can run a quick test of a given name. I can run a more verbose test. I can run a random test. I can run all my tests, or I can say go ahead and submit my code for grading. And I can do an X to exit. All right. So how does this work? Let's do a question mark. We have three tests that we can run manually. So I'll say test 1, and it tells me my result is 10 out of 10. I got a perfect score on that test. Good deal. No differences. That's what you want. Let's test 2. Again, 10 out of 10, no differences. Perfect. One more test to run. So T test 3. And something went wrong here. My grade was only 6 out of 10. I got 60% on this test. And it tells me some differences were detected. Okay, it's showing me a series of output lines here. Forget about the 1C1. This less than, any line that begins with a less than, is showing me a line of output produced by my program. And any line beginning with a greater than is showing me a line of output produced by the correct version of the program. So on this particular test case, I expected to see 0 + 0 = 0, but in fact I saw 0 + 0 = -1. All right, what can you do next? Hit an enter to see the choices. An uppercase T will do a more verbose version of the test. So I can say uppercase T test 3. And it will show me that it ran my program with a pair of arguments, 0, 0, didn't send anything to standard in, and that my program said 0, 0 is -1, 0, 0 is 0. Okay, I can exit at this point, and I should be able to say main 0, 0, the same arguments that it said it was using, and I should be able to reproduce the error. Given that, I can go into my code and I can make some changes and repeat this process of trying to debug my program as many times as I like. Now, let me mention at this point that in the assessment system, you can submit your program for grading at any time. If I hit an uppercase G, it will run another series of tests. In this case, there's 5 tests. And I got 10 out of 10 on 4 of them, 6 out of 10 on the last. Okay, I got 46 out of 50. That's not bad. Go ahead and run your program for grading when you think that it's pretty close to working. Because if something happens, if the network goes down, if I lose my work or something like that, and the deadline comes and goes, I've still got credit for, in this case, 46 out of 50 points. And if I make some changes and I resubmit this for grading, the new grading will take over, will replace the old grading. So the final grade you get is whatever the last assessment was that you did a grading test on. So don't be afraid to run the grading tests as many times as you like. Okay, so let's look at our function and figure out what went wrong. Well, obviously, it's this funny line here where I said return a plus b with some modifications. I should have just said return a plus b and ignored the stuff that I found online. So I'm going to make that change. I'm going to recompile, and I'm going to reassess. And now when I say test 3, it tells me no difference is detected. If there's a lot of test cases and you don't want to try them all by hand, you can run random tests. Or you can just say A, and it'll go ahead and run all the tests in succession. And in this case, I got 10 out of 10, 10 out of 10, and 10 out of 10. I think I'm good to go. Let's go ahead and submit this for grading again. And I got 10 out of 10 on all 5 tests. I can exit. I'm done. So that's the idea of the one-day programs. Very well-defined, streamlined functions that you're going to be developing. Put them into a test bed, test them manually, run the assessment system, and it will tell you how you're doing. When you think your code is good, go ahead and say grade, and if you get 10 out of 10 on all the tests, you've got 100%, you're done. And these one-day programs are not just busy work, they're going to help you with the larger programming assignment, which will be full-on assignments that you'll be responsible for commenting and documenting, and you'll be turning in the source code and all sorts of other things. All right, that's the basic story. We'll see how this works. Thanks.